Hi, guys. Welcome to episode 1 of Gecksandspecs and Friends podcast. I'm just going to introduce you guys. This is going to be our first episode. I'm new to this, so hopefully it gets better along the way, but here we go. Today, joining me, I have Tiffany's Reptiles and my friend Crazy Royal Geckos. Hi, guys.
Hello.
So, if you guys, hi, guys. So, if you just want to introduce yourselves, go on ahead.
Okay, so my name is Tiffany, and I'm from Tiffany's Reptiles on Instagram. And I have 22 pets in total, but out of the 22, 6 of them are leopard geckos. One of them is a Peter's banded skink. 2 of them are bearded dragons, and one of them is an Argentine black and white tegu. And those are my reptiles. As far as herps in general goes, I have 3 axolotls, and then I have a whole bunch of other pets that we can get into if anyone wants to, but that's it for my herps. And then I first got into reptiles probably about 10 years ago, but about 5 years ago I started keeping them. So, and I don't know, anything else that you would want to know?
Wait, oh, it's legal to own axolotls in Florida?
In Florida it is, but in New Jersey, I'm from New Jersey, and in New Jersey it wasn't, and I didn't know that. So,
Oh.
but when I moved to Florida, then it became okay because it is legal in Florida.
Okay, I'm definitely gonna go back on that, but I'm gonna let Taylor introduce herself real quick because there's funny laws on that in California on why they're illegal.
Wait, they're illegal here?
Yeah,
You can't have them?
no.
See, I don't know California is like, I don't know where we stand with animals.
Okay, so like the
But
law. Oh, go ahead.
do you want me to introduce myself first and then we continue? Or do you just
Yeah,
want
then
to?
we'll continue because like the law is really stupid.
Yeah, California laws are stupid in general.
Yeah.
But my name is Taylor. I own Crazy Royal Geckos. I have 5 leopard geckos, 7 cats, and fish. I don't know how many fish we have, but they're mainly my mom's. But that's all my animals I have. I've been with loving animals since I was a kid. Actually, um, honestly, I think I've had animals since I was born. I was actually born with animals, and they've been my passion since that young. So for like 22 years, I've had almost a lot of animals in my life. I've had, I think, 20 leopard geckos, 30 leopard geckos. I rescue as much as I can and find them homes. I just actually recently had a bearded dragon and found him a home. So yeah, I just
Oh,
rescue and have animals.
I know, like I like loved finding your account because I was like, oh my God, someone who rescues and spills Craigslist tea and
Yes,
like okay,
it's because
okay.
it's my passion.
Yeah, I feel that. Like, I wanted to start doing rescue and rehabilitation. Um, right now in my garage, I'm like setting up a whole little unit with its own like heating and cooling system so that I would be able to do that. Like, I wouldn't do it like huge scale or anything, but like just to like give back to the community almost. Like, I don't know, in my way. That's that's my way of like giving back, I guess. You know.
It's your passion. It's like rescuing, as much as you can do when saving that one animal, it really goes a long way.
Yeah, like I mean, I also am getting into breeding because I'm really into biology. So,
Yes,
yeah.
I know someone that does it a lot too, and she's really into like genetics and all that. She knows, and I always come to her. I'm like, "What is this? What is this?" She is really brilliant in it.
My brother, like every time he finds a meme of like an animal or like a reptile, he's like, "What is it?" And I'm like, "Okay." And like I usually know like somewhat what it is or like at least where like it generates from like species wise. But yeah, not to toot my own horn. I know how cool. It's my one talent. Um,
It's my one talent too.
yeah.
Trust.
Okay, so back to the axolotl rule on why they're illegal in California. Like, cause like I didn't know and I like really for a while wanted one like super duper bad. And they're literally illegal because there is a possibility they could become invasive, which first off, our water is like way like our fresh water isn't cold enough for them, but there's still that possibility they could become invasive.
It become too hot. It gets really hot here, and then it gets really cold here.
I know that's what I'm saying. And like axolotls are very temperature sensitive. I'm sure, as you know, Tiffany, they're like really temperature sensitive.
Yeah, they like it cool, but not like below freezing or anything. But they like it cooler.
Like,
Um,
It
but
can get
it's the same thing in New Jersey. So they're illegal there because they're afraid that they'd compete with the like if they were released, that they could compete with the native amphibian species like marbled salamanders and tiger salamanders and whatnot. And then I think another concern is that they can interbreed with some
uh,
of the amphibian species there, so they don't want them to like alter the
the
natural
genetics.
way of things. Yeah. So, and I mean, they eat everything. So they definitely would eat as much as they could and take from who's supposed to be there.
Oh
See, I
yeah.
don't know anything about them at all. Like I know they're cute, and I know they're from Animal Crossing. I saw them on Animal Crossing, and that's about it.
I know that they're like the hardest thing with them is like you have to water check a lot because like isn't it that their feces have like ammonia levels?
Yeah. So
Ammonia, same thing.
yeah, I mean, like they really remind me of like aquatic turtles in that sense that like when they defecate, it like is a little like turd, like it's like a formed thing. So like in a sense, it makes it a lot easier to clean the tank because you just like I get my big siphon and I just siphon it right out into a bucket. But
Okay.
but I have a filter on them that is an in-tank filter. But the tricky part is with filters is they hate water flow like or like an excessive amount of water flow, like what you would put on like a fish tank. So I have an in-tank filter that you can like direct the flow. So I direct it like on like grazes the top of the water, so it doesn't like how do I explain this? So it doesn't like blast down into the tank and hit them because that stresses them out. So if you want a filter, you just have to be able to get one that you can like set up to where the water flow doesn't like bother
Yeet
them or
them.
hinder them because they'll get stressed out. But all in all, they're very hardy animals and they're very forgiving. So if you're like a new aquatic animal owner, they're actually a great first amphibian in my opinion because they're so forgiving and like easy and like they're pretty much happy in like all kinds of situations. But generally you have like you still want to be careful and have proper husbandry, do your research and
Yeah.
everything. But if you're learning and you make mistakes, they probably won't care. So it's nice.
See, like, because that's so interesting to hear from someone that owns them. Because, like, from what I've seen, like, just in YouTube videos in general, everyone like that I've seen is like, oh, they're like an intermediate animal or they're an advanced animal. Like if you mess up water, like temperature, even a little bit, like they'll just die. Like that's like the consensus of what I've seen. And like you're telling me something
Oh,
completely different. So that's really interesting.
well, I would say if you're new to the herpetology world, or like especially if you're just a hobbyist, they're definitely not a good first pet, like at all whatsoever. But
Yeah.
if you have experience in keeping tanks, you're familiar with doing water changes, siphoning, and like cleaning tanks and like um, testing your water levels and everything. If you're familiar with that, like if you've kept fish before or if you have aquatic turtles, like things of that nature, and you're already like kind of accustomed, if you wanted to switch to like the amphibian world, which is usually a little bit scarier because they're more porous skin and
Yeah.
they can be harder to feed, etc. Um, Axolotls, in my opinion, are like easier than something like to me than like maybe a newt because depending on your species you have all kinds of different temperatures and different requirements. Some like prefer more land than water, some prefer more water than land, and like so I don't know, the newt world is like so much harder to me in my opinion than like just getting an axolotl because they're just aquatic, so they can morph but it's not likely unless they're mixed with some other kind of amphibian genetics.
Aren't they like fire salamanders or am I wrong? Like, is that what they are?
Um,
No, like, can't they morph into like a type of salamander? I don't know much.
Yeah, but I think it's normally if they have like mixed genetics with something else. I don't know if that's what it is, but none of mine have morphed. I got them from a breeder in Pennsylvania, and he's great, and his don't like they're just axolotls.
They're
The
just,
Ambystoma mexicanum, or however you say it, that is what they are. So
their fancy scientific name. I'm gonna be honest, I don't know scientific names for like anything. Like sometimes when people like are just dropping those scientific names, I'm like, uh-huh. That's why like I wanted to get into the tarantula world, but like I'd never like whenever I go up to a booth and I'm like, "Oh, do you have this?" And they'll like name off the random species name or like the only labels they have are like these like 20 like almost like a whole sentence long like
Yes.
name of a species. And I'm just like, I just heard a curly hair. That's all I know.
Yeah. Because I have a pink toe, and that's all. Like, I know the basic names, but if like they do like the scientific name for the pink toe, and I'm like, is that what I have?
It's like a
And
Viculara,
it's
right?
that,
A
yeah, something
Viculara.
something fancy. Like, you give me like, I want a Goliath bird eater, right? And
Yeah.
then they say the scientific name for it, and I'm like, oh, okay. I'm like, I just know the names, and I've done some of my research, but I'm not into that fancy. Yes, this chancellor world is very like scientifical names. I'm sitting here like, what are they talking about? And it's gonna be the simplest spider, and I'm like,
What
okay.
are you? No, like, because like I really like to watch like Tarantula Cat, and like when she just starts going off, she's like my Brachypelma avicular. That's not their name. Don't come for me, tea people. But like, I'm just like, oh, that's nice. Like, I'm like, that's cool. Like, I don't even know what crested and leopard gecko scientific names are. Do either of you? Like, I've never.
I know leopard gecko. It's like Eublepharis macularius or something, but I don't know crested gecko.
I'm actually looking it up.
Let's
uh,
figure this
So
out, guys.
I don't know
it's
more. Like I
prof.
don't
I
know
think
what
I
hypo
know.
or trans means.
Oh, really? Okay, so like let me just knowledge. Uh no, so like hypo or like translucent. So like hypo usually means like higher pigment or albino. Like it just depends. Like what do you mean? Like do you know like what tangerines are or like
Yep.
stuff like that?
Hypo means less.
So, for example,
Yes.
I have I don't know what I so I have a sandfire a female sandfire bearded dragon named Raylan.
Mm-hmm.
She was I don't know, I forget what they wrote on that paper. So they gave me a little paper when I bought her because I bought her from a breeder at a reptile expo. And I did my research on the breeder and like they had great reviews and like other people with like their sandfire red beardies and that looked great. And I was like, okay, they seem legit. And she really like the breeder really cares about like it was so cute because she was like asking me questions, making sure I'd be a good owner. And I was like, that's a great sign because normally they don't care. Normally they're like, here, bye. So that was awesome. And then
Yeah.
she also knew their hatch dates, which to me meant everything. So I know her birthday, and she's the only reptile other than the leopard gecko that I hatched whose birthday that like I actually know. So I love celebrating birthdays. So it was huge for me. So I was like, oh my god, thank you. So she was great, but on the paper, I think I want to say she wrote like hypo something sandfire red. Like it wasn't just sandfire red, and I didn't know what hypo meant because to me she's just an orange lizard. So
Yeah, okay, so apparently like I looked up the meaning because like I know hypo has something to do with like reduced like dark pigment like similar to albino, but it's actually it means hypomelanistic, which is like the reduced black pigment of an animal. So it's like
uh,
basically reduced black pigment. Like melanistic animals like they would be like black pearl or black knight, leopard geckos, like the ones that are all black. So
okay,
yeah. I was like blanking. I was like, it's something to do with reduced coloring, but I don't.
okay, that's awesome.
But hypo can be also 10 or fewer spots on a body, though.
Oh, I didn't know that. That's
Wait, it can be
interesting.
what? I missed that.
But there's different versions. I like to be like a hypo. Oh wait, I think it might be a hypo yellow to be. Oh, it's hyper yellow. Because to be a hyper yellow, you have to have like 10 spots or less. But that's leopard gecko speaking.
Yeah, so like with leopard geckos, like for stuff like Murphy patternless, like they have to have like 10 spots or fewer. Like Belle's like a Murphy patternless who has like no spots, like but one. She has like one randomly in like the folds of her tail, and I'm like, okay,
See,
go
my
off.
friend would know all of this. She'd probably be looking at us like, wait, I don't know about this. She is totally into genetics. I come to her every time. I'm like, hey, hey,
Oh, that's
she's like, this is
awesome.
her passion. She's been in it for 5 or 6 years. So like,
Okay.
she like can tell you all the albino strains. Like there's only three, and like she'll go all into it. It's
Oh
pretty
yeah,
cool.
like as someone that's wanting to become a breeder, it's really difficult like to
I can
learn all of the
introduce you to me.
strains. Oh, dude, it'd be awesome.
She's
Like,
amazing. Like I highly recommend her. Let me find her Instagram actually. Can we say their Instagrams on here?
yeah, I
Yeah,
mean, let's
I'll
give
have to
people
follow.
shout outs.
Hold on, let me find her.
So Taylor, I actually just followed you. I did not know I wasn't following you, so I just followed you. I was like,
Her.
oh my gosh.
All right, I'll follow you back. Her account is called Drowning in Geckos.
You're gonna have to text it to me because let me be real, I can't spell. Like,
Yeah.
Yeah, is
you could.
Drowning in Geckos. I follow. I've given her a shout out, but
I think
she,
I follow her now because I think
yeah,
I
if you
like whoever
follow
you
her
gave a
now, I see
shadow.
you actually on her account. But she's someone to go to with everything. I've actually learned a lot from her as well. She is outstandingly smart, and
That's
she is
awesome.
definitely the person that will correct you if you didn't get it right. She's
Yeah,
like, wait, that's not a hypo or that's not a tangerine. I'm like, thank you. Like,
yeah,
she opened my mind a lot.
like tangerine morphs. Like I mainly like to work with what I want to work with are like snows and trempers.
Oh yeah.
Um, because like they're very easy. Like tangerines are very hard because a lot of them like are very much line bred, like genetic kind of stuff with tangerines. And that's a little confusing to me. And I'm like, I'm just gonna dip my toe in with the snows because snow is actually one of the very few, I think it's like one of two co-dominant leopard gecko genes. Like the only two co-dominant ones are snow, max snow, I mean, not like gem snow or tug snow, but like max snow and giant are the only two co-dominant genes. Everything else in leopard geckos is recessive. Like,
Oh
I
wow.
think there's more. I'm not 100% because I think I've seen more co-dominant, but I could be wrong.
yeah, like
So
maybe I'm basing off like my research. I mean,
Oh,
I've gone in depth, but not
yeah,
like
yeah,
crazy.
I don't want to get like into the topic because like and say something wrong because I'm like, because I don't know as much as other people know, and like, I don't want to breed. I don't even actually have anything to breed. All mine are mutts. They're unknown.
that's how mine my I have a max snow, my Lunetta, my leopard gecko Lunetta. I know that she's a max snow and she out of all my leopard geckos, I think she is the most stunning. Her and my I don't know her morph, but Rhythm is a yellow and pink one. And she
Mhm.
has red eyes, so she's a radar, and that's all I know about her. But
Yeah,
Yeah,
the
they look
radars are so
pretty.
pretty.
yeah,
Like,
she's pretty.
my prettiest gecko, I would have to okay, like he looks ugly in pictures. If anyone you want to go over and look at Gecksandspecs, if you look at any pictures of Saturn's, like his lips are ugly. Like I don't know what it is, but like every time you see his lips, they look like old man lips, or he looks like Randall from Monsters Inc. Like I swear.
Randall, what do you mean?
But like he's just ugly. Like he's not photogenic, but like in person he's so beautiful. Like he is a super snow tremper. So basically like he's all white and then he has like these really bright like peach colored. Now when he was a baby they were orange, but now they're like peach colored stripes running down his back. And
Oh,
like
that's nice.
he's just beautiful, but like he's so not photogenic. Like every time I take a picture of him, I'm like, "Oh, okay."
Wait, is he the one? Oh, yes, it is. Okay, so he's the one that you said looks like an old chicken.
Yeah, he's my raw chicken leg.
I love him.
He's
Oh, he's so cute.
he's so like it's just like all my other ones. Like you look at Belle, she poses like his smile just looks like he's devious, like he's planning something.
Bubblegum looks like he's planning stuff. That's why his name is Satan.
Dude, like like he's like one of my nicest ones too. Like one of my most photogenic ones is like Wirt, one of my cresteds, and he's evil. Like I swear he's like literally evil. Like anytime I take him out, like he never like I don't know his enclosure's bioactive, but even when he was in like his old enclosure, before I switched him, he would like wait to go to the bathroom. And like as soon as I take him out, he'd like I never knew crested geckos could shoot feces and like urine at you like a frog could.
Wait, they can
I
project at
never
you?
knew that either.
Project.
They
Okay,
can project at you?
I don't know, like, because I've tried researching it, but he does it. He finds a way. He's made it a way. So,
See,
like,
that's
every time I take him out, it's just like he projects it at me, like full on, goes full scale, like. And now that he's matured, it's like a mixture of that and sperm plugs, like just in my direction. And I'm like,
is
okay.
it really
Oh
that bad?
no.
Sperm
Um,
plugs with males?
oh, it's gross. Like, I'm not gonna sit here and be like, no, it's not. Like, it's gross. I don't know, Tiffany, do you own any crested geckos?
So I used to own two crested geckos, but sadly one of them passed away, and I have no clue why. Because their parameters, everything was perfect. So I was a wreck over that for like ever. But I'm assuming it was something that he
Genetic.
already had before I like got
Yeah.
him. Yeah, or like genetic. My other crested gecko, when I moved from New Jersey to Florida, I left him with my best friend who is a she has other reptiles, so like it wasn't like I was dropping something new on her.
Yeah.
And she sends me pictures and everything, and he's thriving. He was very super stressed out in my old apartment, and I never really could figure out why because I kept him isolated.
Yeah.
He never like got over it. Like every time I took him out to clean his terrarium, he like flipped out and like hit like fired down like all the way to like almost gray, and like I
Oh,
just thought
wow.
every time I had to clean his enclosure it was going to kill him. So like he never came around, and I'm not really sure why. So I didn't want to move all the way from New Jersey to Florida and like just have him die on me. So
Yeah.
I gave him to my one of my best friends, and she has him in this corner with like all these plants and like all this like nice like decor, and he seems to be doing like way better than he ever did with me, which makes me feel kind of terrible. But I'm also super happy that like I made a good decision for him because I'm
Yeah.
very against giving my animals away since like they're not rescues or anything. So like
Mhm.
I buy them, so I'm like they're a lifetime commitment. But with him I was like this might be better for him. I don't think I am a very good crested gecko owner. I guess I'm not sure what happened,
I mean, it
but
just depends on the crested gecko.
yeah.
Um, like I definitely think males have a higher chance for like male and female leopard geckos, like there's minor differences, but male and like female cresteds, like I've noticed, at least in my opinion, I don't know about everyone else's own males, there's like a huge jump in personality when their hemipene sac drops. Like it's just like they either get like super stressed or they're like always irritated. Like I remember Wirt, like I had to end up blacking out his enclosure, like putting up a covering on the sides in his old one because literally he would see his reflection and would try to attack it
Oh no.
like all night. And like so I had to do that. And then like now he's just when he was a juvenile, like when he was really in the teen stage, he got into biting. Like he was never bitey. And then he became a juvenile and he decided he wanted to bite me every chance he got. Like I just
Yeah.
think I think males are very like they have the very much testosterone kind of thing going on with them.
Yeah,
So
now that
yeah.
you say that, he did kind of get really wacky, like
All right,
as he
I'll be
got
right back.
larger. So
hmm
I think that
So
might.
Taylor, if you're thinking about a crested, just get ready for the whole sperm plug thing.
All
It's
right, I'll be right back.
okay. Okay, so like basically what I was saying, like with the whole like I don't know if you ever had to deal with that because you had a male. Did you? Or
No, I mean mine would poo like everywhere, but they never got it outside of the enclosure. But I had a screen lid, and then the rest was glass, and then it had a vent around like the mid part. Like I think it was I want to say Exoterra.
oh, okay.
Tall, like it was one of those really tall, huge
Yeah.
enclosures, but it was still exoteric, so it was like mostly glass, and then it had like vents, like well, a vent in the center, and then yeah, like the screened lid, which was good because it was like there was enough airflow, but then I also could keep the humidity where it was supposed to be, or at least it seemed
Okay.
to work out okay for me. So
Oh, okay. Like, yeah, no, all of my other crested geckos, like, none of them have ever done this to me. Like, Peanut did it once, but he's never done it again. But, like, Wirt, like, he does it every time now. And I think that's just because he's maturing as a male. But, like, basically, what they do is like a cleaning mechanism. It's like basically so they release sperm plugs from their hemipenes and then they proceed to lick them up. And
oh
it's like the grossest thing because like everyone like they like my family they see pictures like oh we want to meet him and I'm like no you don't because he's gonna do that and y'all are gonna look at me like oh
I've only had I have male leopard geckos, and oh, I'm back. Sorry, I just
oh
woke up. And so I never like experienced like the weirdest male I have is Django. Oh, actually, he might be compete with Bubblegum, but the weirdest he's like stuck his crotch up to the wall and licked himself. I'm like, thank you. You backed yourself all the way to the glass and just went to town. And he's done that with my friend because originally he would belong to my friend and my friend gave him to me. So he's
hmm
done it with my friend and then he's done it to me and he just looks. And I'm
see
like, and then I hear stories with your crested gecko male. I'm like, I mean, and like them being much meaner and stuff. I'm like, I kind of want a female more than a male because
yeah
female.
I from what I've read from like other people that have owned crestas in the past it's just kind of like I hear when males like around 2 years they calm back down because Peanut isn't as bad as Wirt. Like he's just very I think he's just a very high energy crested gecko in general. So he can be a little spastic. Like he's never bitten me. He's never like granted I've only had him like about month and a half, but he's like when we started handling his defense wasn't to bite or to like, project as you call it at me. He would just like kind of like hop around. But like I think what I was reading is that like crested gecko males from maturity until about like 2 years of age are just insane. Like they lose it. They don't they're just a bucket of hormones and anger.
Sounds
And
like stages.
yeah, and then I hear around 2 years they calm back down. Or I hear also if they breed, they calm back down. But if you're not looking to breed, like what I've always told people, because I've had friends of mine who like own reptiles get their first reptile, and it's like it turns out to be a crested gecko male, and they're like, oh my god, like what's going on? Like he's just been crazy. I'm like, oh, they'll calm down
So
eventually.
that makes a lot of sense to me now because mine was probably like around a year when he started getting like incredibly stressed out. And then I went to move when he was probably around a year and a half. So that makes a lot of sense. I wonder if I like stuck it out because he seems fine for my friend. So I don't know if she had a rough start, but I know he's doing well now. And then to finish up what I was saying earlier, the reason why I thought maybe you had a more open enclosure and he like shot at you through that, but now I realized that that was like not what you meant.
No, he just like I bring him out, and he's like, all right, time to go to town. Like, what's up?
Question.
Yeah, who had a
So
question?
wait, do you
Yes.
think it's because there's a female, or they will do it even if there's no female crested gecko?
What
Because
were
you
you?
have
What do you?
male and female.
No, okay, so like the rule is because another thing male crested geckos will do, none of mine have done this yet, thank God. But if you hold a female and then you hold a male and you don't wash your hands in between, they will try to mate with your hand. Like they
Yeah, I've
don't
seen that.
so I don't think that he thinks I'm a female because he's never tried to do that. And like if I hold like my females before, or I actually tend to hold him before I hold my females, or if I like by chance like was just cleaning a female's cage and then I want to work with him, I always clean my hands 'cause I don't want that. Like I just like I feel like that's a step too far. You can project at me, you can shoot any ornament from your body that you want to, but the moment you try to mate with my hand, I think I'm out. Like
Yeah,
please
I don't
don't.
know how to handle that. And I think I didn't do my questions clear. I think I was saying more like, do you think males act away if there wasn't a female around? I'm saying if there's no female, because like if when I only had Django and Bubblegum before I had Eclipsa, they didn't act as much like as when a female started coming around. You know what I'm
Mm,
saying?
I want to hear your opinion too, Tiffany. In my opinion, I think with animals it depends because I don't know because like before like were there was no female crested geckos around when he started acting crazy. He just did. And like from people that I've heard that only have owned like say like one male crested gecko, they still act like that and they don't have females. So I think it's just a male thing. Like
This
I think with leopard geckos, I think I don't know like because like my two male not crested, leopard geckos, they don't react at all to the fact that there's women. They don't care.
Oh no. But Django, he's a ladies' man. Ooh, he'll go out there at night like, where are you ladies? I'm like, Django, stop.
Like go away.
Like,
But
stop. But Eclipsa antagonizes. She comes out too, like, where you at? I'm like, Eclipsa, chill down.
So
Um,
in my experience with my leopard geckos, my crested in the short time that I had him, I don't know why he was so stressed out, but it makes sense now that it could have just been like crested gecko puberty. But with my leopard geckos, I have two males, Goby and Nyx, and then I have four females. And I actually, you're all gonna hate me for this. When I first got into leopard geckos, I did not know that cohabbing was bad.
a lot of
So
people don't. I'm not gonna blame you because a lot
Hey,
of
yeah,
you know,
I
they
didn't
don't
know.
tell
I was
people
always
that.
told it was fine. So I thought it was fine. And then I found out differently. So they're all separated now. But so they lived together for like a long time. And well, obviously, my males I did not keep together because they would definitely fight. And I knew that much. Like I was at least told that much. Like
Mhm.
even my veterinarian was like, "Yeah, females are fine together." Like my exotic vet. So because she keeps her like hers together, like her females and
Yeah.
like one male maybe. So I had a male with two females, and that's how I had it for like years. They're all separated now. So
Mhm.
just, anyone out there, please don't come at me. I separated all of them. I learned my lesson. I am more educated as a reptile owner now. But in the past when I had them all together, they would mate, and what I would do is just but my one male, I guess like he's so relaxed. I like never saw anything happen. Like he
Mhm.
was just like chill. Like it happened, but it never like I don't know, where the other male, he would just be like, I'm coming for you. I'm coming
Yeah.
for you, ladies. Like he was like, feisty about it. So, and then I would just bulk up my females' diet so that they didn't lose any weight,
yeah,
like
I
Okay.
as
was actually
eggs or
careful
anything.
in a
So,
sense of reading mine.
and their calcium too.
Yeah.
So,
Well, like to like yeah, like I said, I don't blame you because like literally everyone says it's fine. Like a lot of people say it's fine, like because people don't know, like even vets, like. But like, did you ever have like? I'm assuming you had accidental clutches.
so I did have one. Well, yeah, I would mainly just wait until the eggs dried out, and like, I would cut them open just to make sure, like there was no chance of me throwing any live little babies in the
It's
trash.
better to freeze
Yeah.
Um,
them.
but I did hatch one clutch because I kept a few. I only kept a few eggs, and
Mm-hmm.
all of them hatched. It was like six altogether, and I already had homes for them before they hatched. Because I kept one of them, who I still have. That's Kasai. She is my granddaughter. And then I gave two to my best friend. This different best friend than the crested gecko person. I actually gave one to crested gecko person, a crested gecko friend.
Mm-hmm.
And then how many of those were left? And then I gave one to my cousin who still, I mean, they all still have them. They all still send me pictures, and we were all kind of in on it together. So we're like, we're all family. So that was my experience with that. But I'm not a breeder and I don't want to breed. I just did it to have the experience. And
Yeah.
my male's like the wild type, I guess. I don't know what his like morph name would be, but he's the like wild type, like what they look like
Wild type.
outside.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, and then the female that he bred with was also like either high yellow or like wild type. I can't really tell the difference.
High
But
yellows are hard to tell. Trust me, I
so,
know.
but I mean, don't come at me, guys. This was years ago, and I was just like, this will be fun. And now I'm like, oh my God, you cannot breed if you don't know what you're doing. You cannot do that because you don't
Hey,
know
you
what kind of genetics you're going to bring to the surface, what kind of problems they could develop,
Yeah.
diseases. Like, for example, like the spider ball python thing, like a lot of people are like, why does anyone breed them? I don't want to be like, that type of person, and I'm not a breeder. So I'm like, I just did it once for fun, but probably shouldn't even have done that. But Kasai is very healthy, and I think about 3 or 4 years old now. So
hey,
I'm.
we all learn from mistakes.
Yeah.
When
yeah,
I
I felt terrible. Like the more I found out, I was like, oh no, I gotta fix this. So
hey,
it's all
I've
fixed.
learned mistakes too. Calypsa, actually, I feel bad for her because she really was only bought to breed. I will throw that out. See, like we all make mistakes. She was really just only an impulse buy to breed. Before I even knew that, because like we all make mistakes, I bought her, and then I was gonna breed with Django, and then someone told me like you don't even know their genetics, and I felt bad. Like you could kill a Calypsa, and I was so sweating, like freaked out. She laid her eggs, but they were all duds. So I even learned harder that way. She got pregnant for no reason. She got all this. You know, I felt bad. You know, she was bought for a dumb reason. She was not just from a dumb reason, she was bought from a horrible breeder. Then Django, so that's why I think Django's attitude's like that because he's had a female. And you know, we all make mistakes. I feel bad. She was only for that. But she lives better now. She just now just a fatty McFatty. Just
Yeah, all my females are like, I guess, I don't know, I wouldn't say happier, but like thicker. So,
oh
doing
my
I
god,
guess they're
definitely.
doing better overall. They don't have to lay, they're not like laying eggs anymore. They don't have like a male bothering them. But my males, they don't really act any differently. I mean, they're in their own little bachelor tanks now and they just kind of do their thing. They're pretty I haven't noticed any difference in behavior or any changes in eating or going to the bed, like nothing out of the ordinary. So,
Yeah. I
I
think
was gonna um weigh in and say like honestly, I feel like it's not a big deal if people make mistakes because like I mean, obviously yeah, like it happens, but as long as you learn from them and don't repeatedly keep making your mistakes, like I think it's fine. Like not to get like into deep tea. I mean, Taylor, you'll know who I'm talking about,
I
but
already
there's
know what you're talking about.
yeah,
I
there's
think I
a
know.
yeah, there's someone on Instagram who has like a decent following. I would say pretty big for a reptile Instagrammer. And like her female has had multiple prolapses, her males have had multiple prolapses to the
Oh,
point where the male actually had to get one of his hemipenes removed.
Oh
it
my
was
goodness.
It was
removed.
that bad, and she still continues to cohab, and, like, she spread some misinformation, like, she knows it's wrong, like, I know, she's from another country, but, like, people have told her in the past, like, "Hey, like, what you're doing, like, it's not right, like, this could end very, very badly," and she'll literally just delete the comments, or when people are like, "Oh, this looks cute, like, are you supposed to have, like, male and females together?" Like, she'll say something like, "Yes, like, they love having mates, like, they
Or the
need that
pet
kind of
pets.
affection, and it's just like
Oh, no.
and, like, it's like she knows it's wrong. Like, because, like, clearly if you're deleting the comments of people being like, "Hey, just so you know, like, you shouldn't be doing this," or, like, people that go after her constantly, she'll just block them, and, like
See, that's not okay. Like I
yeah.
think making mistakes is fine as long as you're open to criticism. Don't take it as a personal attack because I mean most people are very respectful and they're going to approach you and they're going to be like, "Hey, did you know this? If not, like let me just, tell you about it. Let me inform you so you can make better decisions for your animals." And I think that is amazing and that's what we should all do. Like not like shame or attack or like, like try to destroy someone's reputation, but if they're gonna be a jerk about it, then maybe go to that level. But if they're just like gonna, offer you advice and you take it and like for the health of your animal, you correct that mistake, that's beautiful. That's like what this community should
Yeah.
be and is mostly about. Like I've had people come at me and say like, hey, you shouldn't really use this substrate for this animal. Maybe you should change. And I'm like, oh, okay, like that sounds great. I mean, like, just as an example, I actually have never had anyone do that, but like as an example, that's like an awesome, like, don't use sand for bearded dragons. Like
Or,
that
like,
kind of
leopard
like,
geckos.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, exactly. And like, cause that's not good if they eat it. But with her, like, I know who you're talking about. And like, it's just so annoying when someone's like, oh, I hear you, but you're wrong because I'm right, even though they
It's
are clearly wrong and they have a decent following. So all these people are going to see that she like is doing this and think that they can do it too. So it's like all these leopard geckos that are going to be injured. And like, I don't know. I just personally, when I kept my leopard geckos together, like I was very fortunate, and I never had anything happen, and I was so happy about that because when I found out, I was like, wow, I'm very lucky. Something really bad could happen. Like I never had a prolapse gecko or anything like that,
Mhm.
so I was super fortunate. But like seeing her geckos, they are not healthy. She's not bulking up her
No.
females. She's not feeding her males properly, like very clearly. Like I know exactly who you're talking about.
I,
So,
like, even think at this point, like, not to be, like, rude, like, because 'cause I'm not, like, trying to send, like but, like, I've noticed, like, I think she even moved one of the baby females she had into the tank with, like, the lar with all the larger males, And I'm just like, it makes me like sick to my stomach because like even if you didn't know a lot, like logic would tell you like maybe not, but like you wouldn't want to put a baby with an adult of like anything unless they're like mammals. And like I think now like even because she does know all this is wrong, she put like a baby with like the adult males in there and the baby is a female and there's a high chance that that baby could die from like a male force like mating her.
Yeah.
Like it's
Yeah.
just it's hard. Like it's very hard to have like a fine line. But also I feel like the reptile community is very quick to attack people, even sometimes when nothing is wrong and their care is just like a little bit different.
Yeah.
Like
Yeah.
That's
I've definitely got messages. I don't even have a huge following. Like I think I have 300 followers. And I've definitely had people like reach out to me, not even reach out, but like attack me. Like for one thing, like I think I posted something and they like my baby crested gecko like doesn't have a water dish. Like they're like some people do water dishes, some don't. Like people just have different opinions on that. And like my baby like crested gecko, I've watched her urates, like they're all like pure white, like she's fine. And like someone like came for me and was like, you know, like you're dehydrating your gecko on purpose just because you won't like put a water dish in there, like your gecko's gonna die. And like they were just rude, like they used like profanity too, which was really fun. I've definitely been attacked over like Belle being like a little bit overweight, which is something like I've been working on. Like when I got her, she was chunky. She's an ex-breeder. She's my one gecko that's like very much so only pet only. She's just my pet. And like people have definitely been like someone like because there definitely are people on Instagram who do make their geckos fat for follows, but like someone like came for me with her and was like you're purposely force feeding her, like she looks miserable and she's only like a couple grams, like I'm not defending, like she's just a couple grams overweight. So like I definitely think there's one end of the spectrum where people purposely do bad care and like don't listen to anyone, but I also think there's like another end of the spectrum where the reptile community can be very 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 toxic and like they don't like see like if something's different than how they do it they won't even listen, like kind of deal. Like I don't know, like I went off on a
Yeah.
tangent
No,
but
exactly.
Yeah. I sometimes wonder if I could be toxic, because sometimes, but then I'm like, well, I don't go after people, like that are like minor things. I go after the extremes. It
Like
counts.
yeah.
like abuse and
Like I
negligence.
always wonder sometimes if I can be toxic, but I'm like, realize I'm not, because there's facts and then there's bullying. There's and a lot of people can't distinguish facts from bullying. When I see it,
Yeah.
and I'm saying I'm not gonna go attack them. I'm gonna say something, and then when they start getting defensive, I'm like, okay, do you want me to step up or do you want me to step down? That's when yeah. But I always start a proper, but like that account that has a lot of issues with them when they delete their comments, because like I said, I've been with that account and my issues with it, but it's mainly because that account doesn't want negativity. Like that account knows that they're doing is wrong. They just don't want negativity.
They don't want people knowing what they're
They don't
doing is
want people
wrong.
knowing, and that account actually truly in their heart believes they're doing nothing wrong.
They
But
want
all the
everyone to.
evidence I have against it, from their males having scars, all their males, and all that, I'm like, they don't get along. You're literally showing everybody that your animals do not get along, and then you get people who put their animals together and their animals die. I have Courage and I have Butch that have come from cohabiting, where Courage, I haven't really talked about really her backstory with Courage. She actually came from PetSmart, where she was barely alive from cohabiting. They had ripped her flesh open. They
Oh
had ripped her
god.
tail. She was
Oh.
not even a month old, and that's all she knew was. And we're talking about babies. We're not even talking adults fighting. We're literally talking babies fighting. Butch, we can't. They couldn't even tell if it was metabolic bone disease or they broke his arm. So
Mm.
he's
Oh.
growing fine. He's pretty fine now. Well, it's a she. I don't know what to call him, a male, but whatever. They both come from cohabiting gone wrong. Courage, I mean, Courage is the worst of what happens in cohabiting. I mean, I'm a strong against cohabiting because I know the effects of cohabiting. I mean, when
Yeah.
your flesh is literally
Yeah.
apart, and I thought I was gonna lose her, but she was a fighter. She was a chunky monkey eater. She grew happy, and then her skin's all better. You wouldn't even
Oh,
know.
that's good.
wouldn't even know she was part of that, which is great. Other than
That's
her,
awesome.
No,
My
that's super
my Nix, my male leopard gecko Nix, he lost his tail and it was at PetSmart. And I bought him because I was like, oh, no one's ever gonna want him. He doesn't have a tail. So he grew back a lot of his tail, but it looks kind of weird at the end. You can see it in my pictures if you see Nix.
yeah,
And the reason he's named
yeah.
Nix is I actually thought he was a girl, but he turned out to be a boy. But
Same Butch.
so he I don't know if it was another gecko that bit his tail off, or I think it might have been like a pet, like a coworker of mine at the time that just put the hide down on his tail, and I honestly think that's how he lost it. But I
Huh.
won't go into the details, but I'm pretty sure my really poor detective skills, like I think someone put it down on his tail and that's how he lost it. But it also could have been a result of cohabiting and I just didn't know. Like,
Yeah.
I was fortunate enough to not experience aggression with cohabiting myself, so I didn't know at the time. But I could have definitely been a result of that too, because the babies, I mean, they can be pretty like incredibly food driven. So
Oh
like if they
yeah.
mistake a tail or a foot for a cricket or a worm,
It's also
chomp.
like
That's what
I
happens at my work. It's sad because like my work's not the best place. I've had leopard geckos literally chomp on each other thinking it was a cricket. I'm like, boy, I have to stick my hand to pry each other off. I'm like, you're not eating his face. Stop. And I can't separate them. So I'm like trying to like, hey, let go of him, please. And yeah, they'll chomp on each other. Most likely that's actually from being bitten by another leopard gecko. Because I think if you had a hut on him, it would have took his whole tail. Because I've actually had a leopard gecko have a hide on his tail, and he went nope, yeet, and let go of his whole tail. It was so weird,
Oh no.
yeah.
wormy. Oh, it was so disgusting. I was little. I was 6 years old. I don't know even how it happened. I don't know how it happened, but it was the most scar-driven thing. But yeah, that shoot, they would have most likely let go of their whole tail because they were afraid. Because I don't think they can let go pieces of their tail. I think that was due
I
to
think it's just the whole tail, yeah. If I
yeah,
It
that was
drops the
someone
bait.
smacked because that's what happened to Butch. Butch lost half his tail as well, and it just grew back, and it looks weird. It looks like half printed.
sometimes they look like little bulbs, like little Christmas bulbs. That's what they remind me of.
Or
Also
Ace of
like
Spades.
yeah. Like when it comes to tail losing, I think it very much depends on species, like to judge if it's good care or not. Because I know a lot of people and even like crested gecko keepers have been attacked for like crested geckos losing their tails. But like with crested geckos, like they'll just drop their tail for no reason. Like it's very
That's
different
super
than leopard geckos. Like
different.
Oh
crested
yeah.
geckos like I know like I forget who, like it was like a big YouTuber, like people like were literally attacking her because her crested gecko didn't have a tail. They were like, "Oh, clearly like you did something wrong in your care." But like literally a breeze could blow 30 miles away and the crested gecko will decide, "I'm over it."
Yeah, I've
Um
different views though on that. I've heard some people say it's like you have to get them scared or something, but I've never owned one, so I don't know. But then I also heard that some breeders cut like to purposely let their tails fall off. I'm like, what?
yeah,
Like
there's
some breeders do
definitely
that? Like that's so cruel.
I bought and I'm not going to name their names because I've definitely run into really amazing breeders, but I've also run into very like breeders when I'd already purchased an animal. Like they were great with genetics. They are great when it comes to all the scientific stuff when you're telling them you're going to breed their animal, but their care is just horrifying. Like my girl Spinel, she was literally a year old, and this like breeder obviously advocates like you don't keep like you don't cohab, but like she advocates that, but she proceeded to tell me when I was like, oh, like because I always ask as breeding goes, like you want to know, actually, I think personality does play a part in how the babies will be. Obviously not to an extreme, but I think if you breed two aggressives together, it does have an effect if you were going to have an aggressive baby. So like before I always buy like it's something, if I'm going to use it in a breeding project, I will ask like, oh, how is their temperament? And with Spinel in particular, the woman like went, oh, like her and her tank mate have never like nipped at each other. And like at the time, like I didn't think much of it until like I really started thinking like at that point Spinel was already a year old. Like I understand people like I don't really understand keeping hatchlings together. I know people do. But I don't think that's as bad as keeping like two clearly year-old crested geckos together because they're like they were born together. Like that's just
Another thing is like what I noticed, like a lot of people are pro like anti-leopard geckos usually being together. You never hear crested geckos really or African fat tails really like anti cohabiting. You know what I'm saying? Like
yeah.
because you never really hear that, but you definitely hear it in the leopard gecko community. But I'm like, but also not saying this, I will never cohab even crested gecko if I get it. Like the negativity side, you never really hear that either. Like either they keep it quiet or they just don't say anything. Because I'm like, I don't know, or unless I haven't seen it, but I'm like, or heard about it of crested
Mm,
gecko horror stories of cohabiting or African fat tails.
crested geckos, I think uh it's not really as heavily talked about, but then again, like I've seen people, it's more like on Reddit, it's pretty decently talked about, I guess. Like the best way to put it is like it's decently talked about. Because they're like even on Reddit, like Reddit actually is one of, I'll just put this out there now for anyone that wants to get involved in the reptile Reddit community. It's one of the most toxic reptile communities, so be careful.
Yes.
Um, but definitely I have seen people who cohab and like even like it's not as common though. Like in I think maybe Instagram we don't see it as much because I feel like leopard geckos and bearded dragons and snakes are more the front runners on Instagram for reptile related content,
Yeah,
if
I
that
do.
makes any sense.
Yeah.
But like on the Instagram, I definitely there is like a huge sub bar rule of like no cohabiting and stuff like that. But like also like even with breeding like as someone who wants to breed, I'm excited, but I'm terrified. Like because I know some breeders like leave their the male in the female's cage for like a day or two. Like I don't even want to do that. Like I definitely want to have their first interactions be outside of the tanks and just see like kind of what happens because I do want to watch them be for like anything wrong. Like, because breeding is scary with animals. Like Leachianus geckos, like I know I'm going off on a tangent here, but like Leachianus geckos, like if they don't like each other, they will kill each other. Like, it's not a joke.
Oh yeah, they
Like
will.
yeah, like lychees, from what I hear, like their form of mating also, like even if they're not trying to kill each other, is very aggressive. Like they lock jaws and like bite each other. And Leachianuses have like really hard bites. So breeding's kind of scary. And like especially for people who don't realize cohabbing is bad, um, I think like the results could be detrimental because like not everyone that cohabs was taught the right way. Like you were saying earlier, like I've met an exotic vet who told me that I'm not even joking, that told me like my leopard gecko would benefit from eating vegetables from time to time.
Wait, what?
Oh.
Yeah. Um,
You have to definitely make sure that your exotic vet is accredited. That is like the number one thing. Because if they're not accredited, then they might just be making up stuff as they go.
oh
And I
God,
mean,
yeah.
like sometimes that could be fine, but honestly, like you want to make sure that your exotics vet has exotic experience and the credentials to actually work with exotics. Because my exotics vet now is
Mm-hmm.
fantastic. Like I
Yeah.
have a wide variety of event. Well, I wouldn't say wide variety, but I have like, multiple species of herbs and she sees all of them and so knowledgeable and so professional. My previous exotics vet who I left immediately, I went to him once and I was like, "Oh boy, no, no, no." He was not accredited, which I didn't know until after the fact. I actually am in I'm trying to get into vet school and I want to be an
Oh,
exotic
okay.
vet.
Awesome.
So that's like life goal thing. So I talked to a lot of veterinarians and whatnot. Most of them are not exotic vets, but I found my current exotic vet because I told a veterinarian that I work with about the
Mm-hmm.
guy who is like a Looney Tune, and he told me that that guy was not accredited. That you always want to check for that and look for that to make sure they're actually like a legitimate registered exotic veterinarian. And because he has a ferret and a hedgehog, so he
Yeah.
also goes to the woman that I see now with all of my animals,
Mhm.
and it makes a world of difference. Like not that they only have to be accredited, but that they have the credentials, the experience, the knowledge of the, multiple species, and doesn't only just know the medical side of things but the husbandry side of things as well, because honestly poor husbandry is what usually leads to, and
To
poor diet is
problems.
usually what leads to medical problems. So like knowing the whole entire picture is so important, and my new exotics vet, she definitely does. Like she's fantastic, I love her. But old exotics vet, he was kind of weird. So, and then my exotics vet in New Jersey, she was great with reptiles, but she was not good with small
Other
mammals.
exotics, I'm guessing.
So, yeah, so like it really, you just have to find the right person. And that is so important, because you can say, like, oh, my vet told me this all you want, but depending on their credentials, that might not hold any weight. So, it's
Can I
like,
actually ask, like, what made you realize the one vet was like a nut job? Like, I'm honestly curious.
so he was telling me that my bearded dragon Renzo had,
I stop when you guys real quick.
Yeah.
oh,
I
yeah.
have to go grocery shopping. I apologize to end this. I
Oh,
hate
it's
leaving,
okay.
but next time. I really had fun, guys. I really did.
Well,
Me
we'll
too.
finish up the, yeah, me too. Thank you so much for coming on. We'll end this story, Tiffany, and then we'll do an outro, I
Wrap it
guess.
up. Yes.
Yeah. But thank you so much,
No
Taylor.
problem.
I
Have a
appreciate
Bye,
it.
fantastic
Taylor.
day,
Bye,
both of you.
Taylor.
All right. Bye.
Okay,
Okay.
I just wanted to make sure it didn't like end the call.
So to wrap up my story, basically he told me that my bearded dragon is, if he's not already 5 years old, he is almost 5 years old. He will definitely be 5 years old next month. Um,
Uh-huh.
so I think he is already 5 years old, but anyway, he's five. So
Yeah.
I originally took him in because I get him seen, like, usually every year or like every other, or like I would just bring him into work for fun to like show the girls, because he just chills with his heat lamp in a cage and like a UVB, and like I set him up and like he sits in the back and whatever. I At my first veterinarian job where I
Hmm.
was a vet tech, so that he would, just hang out, and like it was cool, and he like, always just licked everything and just hung out, so it was fine. Away from cats and dogs, obviously.
Yeah, yeah.
So, just for her to like look at him, and it was usually informal with my first exotics vet in New
Hmm.
Jersey. And he was always healthy, always checked out fine. Everything was great. When I moved to Florida, I hadn't gotten him seen in like 2 years at this point. So I was like, okay, let me get him in for an exam, because he's getting older, and like I want to make sure that, like,
Everything's
he's
going
okay.
well.
And I thought he was, how when they bask to temperature regulate, they hold open their mouth. Well, I
Yeah.
thought I saw like black or like dark, like tartar or something on his teeth.
Hmm.
So I know that bearded dragons are prone to like dental disease or like, dental issues.
Hmm.
So of course, I was like, okay, well, no harm in taking him in just to get him checked out. Well, this veterinarian told me that he recommended a dental within a year, even though he said he didn't see any tartar and that there was no, like, nothing on his teeth and whatever
Yeah.
I was doing to like keep doing it. And he showed me the teeth, and his teeth are beautiful. Like, so I think I just saw like a shadow, or like something was stuck in his teeth, or I don't know, but I guess I was just like being a paranoid reptile mom, which
Me every
happens.
day. I relate. I relate.
Yeah, like I definitely can freak out sometimes and be like, "Oh my god, my baby."
Yeah.
But so I overreacted on the teeth, but he still told me that he wanted to see him in like 6 months to a year for a
Ugh.
dental. And the big thing about reptiles is, we're going so far with technology that it's not um as bad as it used to be, but it still is risky, as with any animal, as with people, like any animal at all. Putting them under anesthesia is very stressful,
Oh yeah,
and
especially with
yeah,
reptiles.
especially
Sorry, I
for.
didn't mean to interrupt you.
Oh yes,
Um,
sorry.
I no, I just heard like with reptiles, as you, someone who's going to vet school, it is very possible for them to pass away just from being under anesthesia. That's just from what I've heard. I
Yeah,
can't
yeah.
confirm that, but that's
So
just what I heard.
yeah, so he was like, he'll probably need a dental every year. And I'm thinking, like, he's not a dog. And even with
Yeah.
dogs, like, unless they need it, you don't want to do that. So, like, even like if they need one every year, then like, so be it, because, it can lead to other issues. And I won't get into that. But, like, dental problems can lead to so many different issues that like a lot of people don't realize. But
Mhm.
to do a dental when they don't need one is just so, like, for a reptile,
It's
especially,
illogical.
it's so dangerous. so that kind of rose a red flag with me. And then he told me that Renzo had a lot of retained shed, and he tried to like point out all these random spots on him, and I was like, okay, and like there wasn't any there. So I was like, oh, okay. And he told me to mist his entire enclosure every day, multiple times a day,
Oh
mist him,
God.
give him baths every day for 2 weeks. And all I thought was like, well, I mean, won't he develop upper respiratory
For
issues?
infection. Yeah, like they
Like
can have
that's
high
too much.
humidity.
Like
Yeah.
he's a desert boy. Like I don't know. This seems kind of like a lot of water. And he told me that it would be fine, and I was like, okay, I don't know. And then
Yeah.
the last thing he did is he told me to not give any calcium at all with vitamin D3. Now I kind of know where he was coming from with this,
Yeah.
but I mean, I have a UVB strip bulb, and like I make sure I know the range of the light spectrum, like how far
Hmm.
down the UVB goes, how far up Renzo has to be in his tank to be under the UVB and to get the full lighting and everything. But they're not always under their strip light. Like it's a strip light. It's not like a whole ceiling light. Like he's in a
Yeah.
4 by 2 by 2 foot enclosure, so it's not covering the entire enclosure. So he can't produce his own D3 all the time if if he's not going to always be under that light
Yeah, like
directly,
so you
which is not. He
supplement
moves
it.
around.
You just like you supplement it. Like
Yeah,
not
so you
every
have to
feeding,
supplement
but
with
you do.
calcium with D3. And he was like, "You don't have to do that. You shouldn't use D3." And I'm
Oh,
like, "I don't know. I'm going to double check." So so I immediately
yeah.
scheduled my recheck, and he also told me that he did a fecal test, and he
Uh-huh.
told me that he had parasites, and that he had probably had them for years, and like all that. Like he made me feel terrible. But
As like a
when I asked
keeper.
him what the parasites were, like what the species was and the details, he completely dodged me. And then when I asked him if I could order the medication through my own job, because I work at a vet hospital, we just don't see
Yeah.
exotics, he told me no, because they already got the medication ready. And he refused to tell me the
Oh.
dose and what type of medication it was. So I was like, okay. And then he charged me $50 for dewormer. I mean, dewormer's cheap. You don't pay $50 for
Yeah.
dewormer. So I was pretty upset about that because he like
I feel
forced
like
me to.
sorry not to interrupt, but like I feel like he just was doing it more for money, if anything. Like it just sounds like he wanted money and didn't even care about the well-being of your animal or like
Exactly.
like I
So,
just that's like that make me so mad. Like unreptile related, but I have a kitten and like she was cleared from scabies. She hasn't had like any like cuz we rescued her and like she had a flare up and like she was we when we got her they told us she was cleared and she wasn't. Um and we got it under control. It's all gone now, but even like when it was gone, like this vet like kept insisting on the medication, the baths, which like would leave my cat like so stressed out that she wouldn't eat for like a
oh,
day. And
yeah,
like
that doesn't work. No.
yeah, and like it's like it was gone and she was still like, "Well, you should do it as a preventative measure," which I'm not sure. I don't know as much. It's like my family's cat, so I don't know as much, but like I would think like I feel like sometimes vets even with dogs and cats do things and say like as a preventative measure when it really doesn't need to be. Like you should only treat it when like obviously there's things you can do preventative, but when you're treating something that isn't there that could actually I feel like cause regardless of your animal like harm. Like
Yeah, yeah. I
and
mean, like there are definitely. I'm fortunate. I've never worked with like a greedy vet or a vet that wasn't in it for the animals. Like every
yeah.
vet that I have worked with, and I have worked with like quite a few at this point, they all are in it for the animals. And sometimes it might seem like a lot because diagnostics get so expensive,
Yeah.
but I mean, like I have met and experienced greedy vets, and I think that guy was one of them. And I
Mhm.
found out later that his business is hurting, so I think he's sacrificing like the animal care
Animals'
for like
well-being to
his
get more.
paycheck.
See, it's funny you say that because the vet we were going to, it was a very much so similar situation. Like, I think Bass were, and like it was a kitten, like they were charging, and this is like outrageous. I think I want to say like 150 to 200
Oh my gosh.
for Bass. Like, I don't know if that's crazy, but to me, like comparing to other places I saw, I think that's a lot for a cat.
Yeah, no, that's insane unless like she got like a mani-pedi and like I don't know her hair done.
Yeah, like
That's crazy.
So, like, I definitely think there are vets that do it because their business is hurting or they just want to make more money. But, like, in the long run, I feel like that doesn't help you at all. Like,
No.
people are gonna Yelp review and be like, yo, they just want shmoney. Like, you know. But,
Yeah.
oh, that's horrible. Like, I'm glad that you at least had experience to know enough that, like, you shouldn't be doing that because I definitely think people could go to a vet like that and like not know that not have the experience or the knowledge and think that they really do need to do that and they could be harming their reptile or their bearded dragon's like health just
Yeah.
by
And
doing
but
that.
to end it on a happy note,
Yes.
my new veterinarian who I see, who I love, she saw Renzo 3 weeks later because he wanted to see me for a recheck. And
Yeah.
I was like, okay, all right. And then I went to the new vet for a recheck. And he actually forced me to talk to him on the phone to consent to sending my records over, which
Oh,
he said that it was like a law, like he had to talk to me in order to release records. And as you know, someone who works in the vet field, I know that that is complete and total BS. So I was
yeah.
like, this is so
Yeah.
awkward and weird. So I talked to him on like this flip phone that my new veterinarian had, like for these kinds of situations. I guess I don't really know why they just had a flip phone, but so I talked to him, and it was so awkward, and I felt terrible. But I mean, the new veterinarian even told me, like, listen, we've worked with him before, and there's no shame in getting a second opinion. Like, there is no shame in that at all. Don't feel bad. And all I thought was, like, I wish he felt the same because he sounded pretty salty on the phone.
Oh
But
my
I didn't say
gosh.
all that. I was like, okay, thank you. But she did a full exam, and she was very, kind, and she wasn't as rough and invasive as he
Yeah.
was, and like her technique was just so much more advanced and modern, and she
Mhm.
kept like Renzo in mind, and it just made me so happy. And like she did everything in front of me, of course, which always makes me happy. And
Yeah.
she told me that his muscle tone's perfect, especially for a 5-year old. Like he's doing great. His weight's perfect. He did not have any retained shed, like I thought, but I mean, like it was nice to hear her like
Confirm
confirm
it.
that.
Yeah.
And then she told me that he would probably never need a dental and that she wouldn't want to do one on him
Mhm.
because of the risk being so high. And she said his teeth were beautiful. So she didn't deem it necessary. And the reason why, I guess I want to clarify that I don't just believe that she's better because she agreed with me. I believe she's better because she went through each and every little individual thing
And
and
like her
like explained her
approach.
reasoning behind it, showed me where his main muscles were, things to feel myself. Like she basically educated me and
That's
like made sure
amazing.
she walked through everything with me and explained everything with me as if I were like a student or like a new owner or like something of that sort. And like the fact that she was very aware of how like bad it is to put a reptile under anesthesia, that like
Was probably reassuring.
yeah, and like also the technology in my new veterinarian, the lady doctor's facility is much farther advanced than his technology. Like I feel like his anesthesia machine and what he would use for anesthesia is a little outdated, whereas
Ooh.
her anesthesia machine, and there is a huge difference, like depending on where you go,
Yeah.
huge difference in like drugs that they use and like anesthesia machines and like whatnot. Her stuff is much more advanced. So for her to be uncomfortable with her technology at her fingertips compared to him and what he had, it's like, oh my goodness, like
You're like, I
I'm so
dodged a
glad I
bullet,
switched.
right?
So like all in all, it ended on a happy note, and I am confident in the fact that she is a good, accredited veterinarian for small exotics, and so I'm really happy that I have her. And
I'm
that guy, I hope he doesn't screw anyone over. So,
That's like really good. Like I'm like honestly like makes me like really happy that you at least found like a really good exotic vet out of it. Kind of sketchy though that she said they had dealt with him before. Like that would make me go, "Ooh, like how
oh,
bad?"
as in like they've referred people back and forth to each other. Like she kept it very
Oh,
professional, not like putting him down.
not
She
spilling
was
the
very
tea.
professional.
Yeah.
So,
Well, that's good. I want to before we end it off, thank you again so much for doing this today with me. Like I really appreciate it so much.
Oh, yeah, it was so fun. This is awesome, and I hope we do this more in the future. I'm totally game.
Me too. All right, well, thank you again and have a good night.
All right, have a great night.